Hey everybody, and welcome back to Darvanalee Designs Studio. For those that don't know, my name's Nicole Reed, and today is Saturday, so that can only mean one thing. It is Slow Stitching Saturday, and today we're going to work on some Sashiko. So let's get started. Good evening everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for taking some time out of your day and spending it with me while I do a little bit of slow stitching. Yes, it is that time of the week again where we take a moment, take some deep breaths in and do some slow stitching and just slow our minds down and slow our thinking process down and just slow everything down. Alright, so I actually have a new start this week because last week we spun up the wheel and we spun up Seasons in Sashiko, and this is a project that I got last May from the quilt show when I went with a group of friends. And yeah, so this one has, and I didn't bring the little cover picture with me because it's so tiny. Let me just move my box out of the way. Okay, so this is what our little project is going to look like today. Alright, so yeah, this is where we're at. We are going to start doing some stitching, and you can see that it's all printed off, and this all washes away when time comes. But I was at a bit of a loss. I didn't really know what colour I wanted to do, so I'll just bring my box back over. I've got a couple of colours in here. This is my binding box. This is just a box that sits beside my lounge, and it has all my bits and pieces for any sort of hand stitching and whatnot. I got it years ago from a shop, and yeah, it just sits there and has that little sewing thing. Anyway, I have some colours here. Now I definitely know that I'm not going to use black, but these colours here were sort of speaking to me. And I've picked up some threads along the way. So let me just close that back down and pop that out of the way. But I got these three colours out, and because I couldn't decide, like when I looked at, I've got, because I have quite a number of different colours for the Sashiko, and I've got variegated golds, brights and all that sort of stuff, but I wanted to sort of go with the traditional colours, and I pulled these out, and I was like, I'm really drawn to these colours, and I'm thinking, like I was thinking this lighter blue, but when I put it onto the fabric, I'm now leaning more towards the red and the blue. So what I was thinking was I possibly am just going to go traditional, and normally that is blue on the white, but this red is really jumping out at me, and I would be able to hang this in my kitchen because my kitchen has red in it. So I'm thinking that maybe, just maybe, I should actually do the red. I'm thinking I'm gonna do the red. Oh, I don't know. See, this is the hardest part when I start a new project, and especially when it doesn't come with, like, I'm okay with picking colours and you know, and I'll just grab random colours and put together in a quilt block and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes to my embroidery, and I even struggle as a designer, I struggle with this as well, like not knowing if that's the colour that I actually want, and it's the only area of my life that I become very indecisive. Normally I see a situation, I assess it, I make the decision, and we're done. But this is the only time that I seem to have some issues with being decisive. But I'm thinking I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to go with red, because the red is really speaking to me. It is really, really speaking to me, and I think that is going to look absolutely stunning. Either way it will look stunning, but I think the red is just more so. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, and I'm also going to basically I am going to do these this came as a double layer, like one's a back, but I'm actually I'm going to do a little bit of a test. I think it'll be fine. I'm going to do, because it's a darker colour on the white fabric, I'm actually going to leave that folded and yeah, just leave it as it is, and then I will turn it into a cushion, or I'll turn it into something. But yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go with that. I was going to sew this and turn it out and all that sort of stuff, but I just ran out of time this week, so I haven't done it. So I might end up pulling out the overlocker and just running it around. It'll be the first time in, I have no idea how long, but it's sitting over there, and it's just like, it's been serviced and everything, so it's ready to go. So I might just pull that out and run it around, see how I go. I might end up just running a stitch with my sewing machine just to stop that fraying. You know, you could pink it as well, because I'm not going to have a problem with the layers laying flat as I'm stitching. That's going to be fine. But I have decided that these are definitely going to go in a frame, and I'm thinking a nice dark frame, just very simple and elegant. I do think, like, a lot of people think I just jump into projects and all the rest of it, but I do give it some thought before I start something, like where I want to end up with it, and that is a lot of my thought process when I start something new. Not so much for quilt blocks and stuff like that, because I use them as skill builders. See that bruise there? I hit my hand as I was walking through the door the other day, and oh God, it's been sore since. Yeah, anyway, I digress. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the red, and I think the reason why is because I want to put a black frame around this, so the black, white and red are going to be quite contrasting, and it will also look really good in my kitchen. So I think that's where I'm going to go with it. I don't know, you probably, if you agree with my choice, leave me a comment down below. If you disagree, also leave me, but be nice if with your disagreement, leave a comment down below and let me know. All right, I've made my decision. We are going to go with the red. This is a brand, it's made in Japan, just like everything else. Olympus threads are a little bit thicker, and they are my preferred threads. But this Durham, I think it's the same, Daruma is the same brand, is my second choice if I can't get Olympus. Olympus can be a little bit tricky to find. It's 100% cotton. It is a really good brand, and it's 40 meters, the same as this one here, 100% cotton, but it's just slightly thicker. This is probably like a 12 weight, whereas this is probably closer to an 8, maybe, in comparison. And I mean, I'm just, you know, I don't have a pearl 8 here to compare that, but that definitely looks closer to a 12 weight. So I'm happy to work with that. But yeah, if I am going to work, I struggled to, when I went into Sashiko, I struggled to find a supplier of Olympus threads here wholesale, and I didn't get any joy contacting the Olympus site. So I ended up going with what I had readily available here in Australia, and that's this Daruma product. And as I said, both equally good, although I do prefer the Olympus over the top, but I don't mind working with both. So if you are chasing threads, it is yeah, it's a little bit tricky. There are other ones out on the market as well, but yeah, this is the one that I've stocked in the past, and I still have some stock, but it's very limited now because I moved away from it. There wasn't a great call for it here. There was at one time, and that's why I was selling it, because no one else had it in their store here. And so yeah, I had it, and I have a couple of customers that I keep a small amount of their favorite colors here for them, because they don't like to travel out of the area. And yeah, so I have a nice little supply here for them, and if I don't have it, they ring me beforehand and say, hey, I need this, can you get it in? And then I order it in for them. So some of the specialty stuff, that's sort of what I do for some of the older ladies and customers that I've had here for a while. And this is where I always bugger this up. Oh, I'm doing all right today. Look at that, I'm doing all right today. I don't know where that one's coming from. Anyway, I always have a mischief with these. Just trying to find that bit where I can snip and get rid of that. And yeah. So I like to have these a little bit longer because I don't know why, I just do. Like, it's no real rhyme or reason. But yeah. Alright, there we go. You often get one or two that don't play nice. There we go, I got it in the end. Alright, so I'm just going to basically snip it in half and then I'll work from that. And yeah, then I'll get rid of this little one here and just pull that out. And then set the side over here. Now, let me just see if I've got my little ring in here. I have a Sashiko ring, but oh, there it is. It's like a little mini shower ring, and all I do is, just like you do with any other floss, I just loop it around and do a little knot like that, and then that's going to keep it all together. All right. And because you're generally only working with one colour, it's rare that you've got multiple colours. I mean, maybe if you were doing like a scene or something like that, but for me, it's quite rare for me to have that. So, and this never comes off, so I end up wasting just a little bit of thread. I'll get rid of that. And my first one, I start off pretty slow. Sorry, I start off pretty small, not slow. Oh, it is first thing in the morning on Saturday morning, but I have my coffee. Hopefully you've got your coffee too. I've had a pretty big week. Alright, is that my normal needle that I use? I think this is my normal needle that I use. I think those ones are the smallish ones that I don't necessarily like, but they should be alright. Anyway, I'm going to use this one. So you want your Sashiko thread not to fray or anything like that, and the eyes of these needles are pretty good, and basically, yeah, you can usually thread them with a pretty simple needle threader. I can thread the needle without a problem, but my theory is, why struggle when you've got needle threaders, right? And I just gently pull that through, and I put a knot in this, and I don't normally put a knot in it because I've been doing so much embroidery and stuff. I put a knot in it, and I don't normally do that. Now, with Sashiko, you want to be going, you know, you want to work it where you're not jumping across or anything like that. So you sort of want to just map out your area. For me right now, considering it is super early in the morning on a Saturday morning, so it is the 4th of March today, I'm just going to go around the outside, and I'm probably just going to start in the center, and then I'll travel. Yeah, how am I going to do this? Let me just think. I'll probably try to travel in some sort of way. Yeah, so I'm just going to start that way, and I'm going to have a long thread. So I'm going to come up from the back at the beginning of, and I don't do this in hoop or anything like that. I mean, if you're struggling to hold it, you could possibly put it in a hoop, but it's not meant to go in a hoop. So I'm just going to bring that through, but I'm going to leave a long tail. And the reason is I'm going to weave that through because we don't want any knots on the back. And considering that this is going to be in a frame, I don't want any lumps or anything on the back. So I will have those long tails when I start, and then I'll go back through and I'll just get a crochet hook, a small crochet hook, and thread them through. Like a really fine, you know, like a crochet hook that you use for like lace work and stuff. Yeah. And then all I'm going to do is just start that off. I usually do 1 or 2 stitches to start off with these, and I don't want to pull it tight because we've got that long tail. So I've just got my finger on it, and this one, like when you do sashiko, you're supposed to do like a rocking method, and sometimes when I start something, it takes me a little while to get the hang of it, but I just go nice and slow, and I usually only do about 3, maximum of 4 stitches. Okay, and so the object of sashiko when you're doing this is to cover up our little dashes because they're all pretty much even, and it just makes it nice and easy to go around. And as you've seen, I just did 3 stitches, and then I just gently pull that through. Now I'm not concerned now at this point. I could go flip it over and weave that through, and if you feel comfortable doing that, like continuing on without doing that like I am, that's fine. I'm just not pulling on it real hard. So what will happen is I will go underneath this. I've got a really fine crochet hook just like this needle, and you can see it just slides under it, and I'll be able to just hook that around and weave that through, and then that way it'll just have a nice line, and we won't be able to see any tails, we won't have any knot or anything like that. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue doing that all the way around, and then I will figure out where I will travel to. Now, the other day, remember I was talking about the sashiko, and I was talking about a lady that used to bring all her work into me, and I'd done a lot of quilting for her and that. I can't remember what video it was on. She rang me the other day, and she says she's feeling much better. Her hands are a lot better, and she's looking to get back into quilting and sewing and everything. And we ended up having a nice conversation the other day. It was great. Actually, I think that conversation, that wasn't on the channel. That was with Sue. We had some problems with the Zoom room the other day, and people were trying to log on, and it kept saying that there was a waiting room, and it had done an update and it had reset it, and it took me ages to get it off. And then I finally found out what the problem was. There was a couple of scheduled meetings, and yeah, and it had enable waiting room on it, and so it put it across the system, and it took me ages to find out what that problem was, because when I originally went into those meetings, because that's what I thought, oh, maybe something on the meetings that I scheduled has tripped something, but it had done an update before I'd done them as well. And when I went in, you couldn't see that, like on the page that I was on, I couldn't see that. And then I clicked on one of them, and then the drop box dropped down, and then it had it there, enabled waiting room, and then I checked the next one, it had the same thing. So I unchecked that on both of them, and then got Rolanda to check if she could get in, and she could, because it was saying waiting for me. Now I don't always get into the Zooms on every meeting, so because I've got, you know, work and kids and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, took me ages, but I got it fixed in the end. I think we made the right choice. I think we definitely made the right choice today for this. I'm happy with the red. The one that I've got for the 4 seasons, I haven't got it here in front of me right now, but it is on the wheel. When that spins up, I'm thinking that I might, because I do have different colors, I'm thinking that I might do each season a color. So maybe winter, like an icy blue, spring, a pale pink, or green, you know, like lime green or something like that. Summer, maybe an orange, and autumn, or yellow for summer. I don't know, and a nice, I don't know. I'll have a look at the design, and there might be scope there to put some different colors in it. Treat it a little bit more like an embroidery than a sashiko. But again, it's the same size as this, so I wouldn't mind just having a nice little wall of these. I've been going through my cupboards lately and just sort of sorting stuff out. There's so much stuff that I've found that I forgot that I got at quilt shows and stuff like that. Just little things, not big things. So I'm actually sorting through a cupboard right now, and which I've sorted through a couple of times, and I've just been, it's a really old cupboard and it just needs to go. So I'm been slowly, and it's the cupboard that generally has all of my end of bolt fabric. So when I get to the end of a bolt, you might end up with like 30 centimeters left, half a meter left, 60 centimeters left. And most people buy, you know, a meter and whatnot. And I used to, when I had the store open to the public, I used to have them in a bin and just priced out, and people used to buy them all the time. But then I closed to the public because I just didn't have the time with me here and all that sort of stuff. I just had classes happening, but I was closed to the public for purchasing stuff, and a lot of those end of bolt situations got purchased by people that were doing classes and stuff like that. All the ladies that were picking up their quilts, they'd grab something out of the basket. And but then, you know, the pandemic hit and I closed down to the public altogether. So I've got all these end of bolt whatnots in the cupboard, and so I'm slowly using them for on the channel now. So yeah, so I'm doing the A to Z blocks in those, just out of the scrap. Once I'm finished getting all the scrap used, then I'll look at those end of bolt ones, and especially for some of the bigger, like the scraps that I've got are great for some of the smaller ones. So this is going to look good. So leave a comment down below and tell me what you're working on. Did you go and get some Sashiko so you could do some Sashiko today? Where I've got the wheel all ready to go for what we're going to spin up. Tell you what, this getting older caper is not what all it's cracked up to be. I mean, I love the fact that I'm older and I've got to that point in my life where I just don't care anymore. I just don't care what people think anymore. It's so liberating when you get to that point. And anyway, I get this, I don't know what it is. Like, it's like a hiccup, but it's not a hiccup. It's so weird. Like when I drink something and like there's nothing wrong with me, it's just like, yeah, I have a drink and then about a couple of seconds later it's like I get a delayed hiccup, and it drives me mental because it's usually when I'm filming or something like that. I'm in the middle of filming, I'm in the middle of saying something, and then I've got it just drives me mental. My pet peeve for today. So you can see here I'm coming up to the leaf to continue around. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the top of the leaf and then continue around, because I don't want to jump, because if you jump, because there's no other threads except for what's on these dotted lines, you will actually see that. So I'm just, when I get to up to something like this, whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, it's just what I'm comfortable in doing, I will then do this stitch here closest to it and go around the outside of that leaf. And I usually, if I've got to turn and navigate and all that sort of stuff, I'll just do one stitch at a time. I just find that more comfortable. Like, yes, I know that there is a traditional way to do Sashiko. I know that, you know, you're supposed to, you know, keep it flowing and all that sort of stuff. It's about the zen of it and all that. I get all the philosophy behind it, but sometimes your brain doesn't want to do that philosophy. It wants to go a different way. So I just do what makes me comfortable. I turn my work. There are, as I said, there is the philosophy behind it, and I love that. I love that philosophy behind it, just the zen of working it and whatnot. But sometimes this brain here doesn't want to play those games. Now, normally you would separate these two pieces of fabric, and that you would use that for your backing. But I'm actually keeping these two pieces of fabric together just to give it a little bit more stability. And then once I've finished doing this, I will actually put some SF 101 on the back of it, and then I will get another piece of fabric, a white fabric, probably not as a loose weave, more of a homespun, and then put them together, right sides together, go around, leave a gap, open it up, press it all down, and then that is going to give it a lot more stability when it comes time to putting it in the frame. Now you can see here we have a dotted line, so and then we've got a line that we can use to stretch it, and like stretch it over a board or whatever to put it in a frame. So there's not a lot to work with. I've got more at the top and the bottom, but on the sides I don't have a lot to work with. So that's why I will actually stitch this and stop it from fraying and everything, and it'll just be a lot easier to mount into the frame if I've done that, if I've got a little bit, because I don't need a great deal of because there's not going to be any mat board or anything like that to go around the outside of it. It's just going to be in a frame to the frame, and it's going to be just a simple, elegant frame that I'm going to use, just a simple black frame. So I've got this outer line to use to help me wrap it around, and then this will be so the frame will come right real close to this here, and that will be my guide to get it to square up. Yeah, but that's a little ways off, and I'll have to order the frame, so that will depend on availability and all that sort of stuff. But generally these small projects don't tend to take too long. They, as you can see, it goes pretty quick because you're just doing that running stitch. And if you haven't tried Sashiko, I highly suggest that you give it a go. It's not complicated. Just got to be mindful of your jump threads and stuff like that. Try not to jump. If you think that you've got to jump too far, end the thread and you just weave it underneath. So like how I've left the tail, you just weave that through. I thought I had my crochet hooks out here, but I think they're packed away with the wool, and if not, Savannah's got them. So I'll have to go and get a fine one. I got a set of them, and they came in like a little zipper pouch, and they go from the really finest one right to a real chunky one. And they're great. Like I got them years and years ago, and I got a set each for the girls, but Savannah is notorious for nicking off with my stuff. But I will have a look and see if I can't find it before I end this video today, because I think I may know where they are. I've got a little trolley that has knitting needles and all that sort of stuff in it, so I'm hoping that I've put them in there. And that's not right beside me at the moment, that's in the house, because I have to hide it from Savannah. She's such a precious little thing. Like when she starts to she turns to craft when she's feeling really anxious and whatnot, and that's how I knew that she wasn't struggling with moving out of home and she was in a good place and all that sort of stuff, because I said to her, have you got some craft to take with you? She goes, no, I don't want to take any craft with me. I said, you sure? I said, I've got some kits there, just take what you like. I'll grab something out that you think you might be interested in so you don't get bored and all that sort of stuff. And she's like, no, I'll be fine. But just like leading up to her exams, she made a blanket, a crocheted blanket. She'd sit in there in her room, and it was like it was hot weather as well leading up to her exams. We had a couple of really hot days there, and here she is in her room under a blanket, crocheting a blanket. And sitting there with the computer watching Gilmore Girls. Like, does it get any better than that? She's such an old soul, I tell you. And it just great. I walk in, I'm like, hey Nana, how you going? Because that's what Mia calls her. She doesn't call her Savannah. She calls, unless Mia's cranky with her, then she goes, Savannah. And it sounds like that when she says it. Savannah. And I'd walk through and I'm like, oh, Savannah's in trouble. And then, but, you know, Savannah's her nana. And when she first started it, Savannah, she hated it. Like, she's like, why? But then I'm like, it's because she loves you so much, she's given you a pet name. And I said, it's because they've not been around babies or anything like that. I said, when a child gives you a pet name, it's because they love you so much they want you to have a special name. And she's like, oh really? I'm like, yeah. I said, that's her special name, no one else, only we are allowed to use that. You've heard her. No, her name's Savannah if someone calls her Nana, because that's her special name for you. And the same as Nerali, she calls her Ray Ray. Ray Ray, because we call her Ray. I don't know why we ended up calling her Ray. Because I asked Brendan one day, Brendan has this, it's so funny, like, he has this thing where he'll name something, so let's say an animal, and then we all get confused because we don't know what the name of the animal is, because he just runs through whatever names like we've had like Truffles, for instance. I call her Truffles because he's gone from Fluffy, Fluffy, and then there was something else he called it. I can't remember what that was. And then he ended up to, then it went to Fluffles, and then I was like, I'm calling it, the cat's name's Truffles. And yeah, so that's the cat's name. And but with Nerali, like, he picked her name, and I picked Savannah's name, and he picked Nerali's name, and Savannah's always just been Savannah. Like, he's never really changed her name until Mia come along, and now she's always Nana. Or he calls her Sav. He'll call her Sav every now and again. But for the most part, he has never changed her name. But Nerali, we went through, like, it was Nerali, and then, I don't know, somehow it got to Ray, and then Mia come along and it was Ray Ray. So we went through, like, all these names, and, like, even, like, no one else on the face of the planet calls her Ray except for her family. And we spell it R-A-E when we write it down, like when we write a message, hey Ray. But she likes it because it's only her, and she understands that concept. That Savannah's a little bit slower on the on concepts of things, of why people do the things they do, and she struggles, not so much now, but as she was growing, she struggled with understanding human behavior. She's a lot better at it now than what she was, but it took a lot of explanations of explaining her to, like, about the names and stuff like that, because she was getting quite cranky. No, my name is Savannah. And I'm like, no, it's just a pet name. Like, you know, like when I talk to your dad, I'm like, hey hun, how you going? I don't use his full name. He was never into Cutesy's name. Like, he was never going to be, hey pumpkin. He's too much of a man's man for that. And I would just feel weird saying that. I used to call Savannah Sweet Pea a lot. And many years ago, she wanted to make things and sell at the markets. And so she wanted to call it, she wanted to incorporate Sweet Pea into it. into the name, and so we come up with Sweet Peas and Me, because I was helping them make stuff, and all the girls were involved in making what they wanted to make to sell and stuff like that. Savannah did a lot of jewelry making, like beading, and they went to the markets. It was a good learning experience for them, and they learnt about, you know, profit and loss and all that sort of stuff, you know, like education, mate. It's always education. And so that was fine. And then, so we called it Sweet Peas and Me, because I used to call her Sweet Pea all the time. And Brendan would occasionally call her Sweet Pea and whatnot, but yeah, now she's just Nana. And God, that name suits her so well. But it's funny, like when you think about it, like it's strange how you land on a name for a person. Like, to be honest, I like Neroli is a Ray. Like, she is definitely a Ray. She's you know, when like she's Neroli, but at the same time Ray suits her as well. And it's not even her middle name. Her middle name's Anne. After Brendan's mum. So Savannah is Savannah Christine, because his mum's name was Christine, and his mum's middle name was Anne, and so Neroli got Anne. And at one stage there, we were going to actually hyphenate her name and have her as Neroli Anne, but we decided against it and just went with Neroli and gave her the middle name Anne. Because Brendan didn't want her name, he liked the name Neroli, and he didn't want her name to be abbreviated down to Leanne. He wanted it to be Neroli, and that's why we didn't hyphenate it. Nothing against the name Leanne, he didn't want her name to be abbreviated down to that. He just wanted it to be Neroli, so that's why we didn't hyphenate in the end. Because my eldest daughter, she does not have a middle name. Her name is a hyphenated name. So her name is Dharma Jane, and everybody calls her. Well, we used to call her DJ. We never really. We never really used her full name until she was older. When she wanted us to use her full name, and I think now she just pretty much goes by Dharma. But yeah, it's just like, it's so funny with the names. The Nana's been the best one. Dharma Jane, my eldest daughter, Brendan is her stepfather, and when she first met him and whatnot, she was a little bit confused. She was only little, so she was a little bit confused of what to call him, and so she used to call him Boy. Brendan, I think, just called him Boy. And then when we were out and about one day, and she said it in front of some good friends of his, and the girl turned around and she goes, "Well, she pegged you right there, didn't she?" But yeah, for ages and ages she called him Boy. That's, "Hey, Boy." Like, I'm sorry, I don't know what else to do. But then probably after about 8 months, we started to have a little bit of behavioural issues with her. Should have been a red flag for what was to come. But we had some behavioural issues, and it turned out that when she was at school, they were doing Father's Day, and they were talking about dads and all that sort of stuff. And she come home, and because she went to daycare, because I worked back then, and like she was really out of sorts, like she just wasn't with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and she was sort of giving the side eye, stink eye to Brendan at the time. And yeah, this went on for, you know, leading up to Father's Day and even after Father's Day and whatnot. And it didn't even occur to me that it might, that would be, well, I was busy with work. Like, to my defense, I was busy with work. It wasn't something that I was thinking about. You know, she was happy, she was healthy, she was having fun at school, you know, she was behaving herself, she was a typical little kid. And, you know, she was excited to go to school and play with her friends and all that sort of stuff. There didn't seem to be a problem, and it wasn't until we led up to the Father's Day situation that we started to and even the schools, her little daycare said, gee, she's really, like, it's not like her. Anyway, we were watching a TV show and something was said on the TV show, and I like, now I couldn't even tell you what that TV show was, but I know we were sitting down watching TV because we were all in the lounge room. She was sitting there curled up with Brendan, and I was about to get up and cook dinner because it was in the afternoon. We were all home from work and whatnot, and they were sitting there, and then something was said, and then I sort of looked at Brendan looked at me, and we obviously both had the same thought at the same time, and then both of us at the same time went, hey, do you want to call Brendan Dad? And her eyes just lit up. So her little mind didn't know how to ask the question if she could do that, because she'd been calling him boy. She thought that she had to call him boy all the time. And and her whole persona and her face and her eyes and everything just lit up. And then from that day forward, he was just always Dad, and he was never called boy again. But yeah, and then her behaviour improved, and even the school said, what happened? I said, well, she was struggling, and the trigger was the Father's Day, because she felt like she didn't have a dad, because her dad was pretty much a no-hoper, and just, yeah, you know, life choices we make and all the rest of it. Yeah. He wasn't a hands-on dad. Let's just put it that way. Let's not trash him out, you know. We'll just call him he wasn't great, and very self-absorbed, and yeah, so had nothing really to do with her until she was a teenager. So it was a good thing that Brendan was there to be that father figure for her, and even with everything that's happened with her and whatnot, she still had that growing up, you know, and some kids aren't that lucky to get that second chance. And for the most part, they had a pretty good relationship. They had their moments, as, you know, mothers, daughters do, daughters and fathers do, and they were inseparable, pretty much, and then she went off to school, and Savannah came along, and life changed, and, you know, then Darvanalee came along, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened with her that was not great, but at the end of the day, we ended up with Mia, and we helped her by looking after Mia. And which could have gone totally the other way, where they would have ended up in care or something like that. But how cool does that? I'm loving the red. Anyway, on to something else. But that is, yeah, it's quite interesting how you end up with names. The boy one was quite funny, and his whiskers. My husband has red hair. And I don't know if this is a correlation or not, because it's come from a little kid. I don't know, like, because, yeah, like, red hair runs in my family and all the rest of it. So it wasn't as if she wasn't exposed to red hair, but when his whiskers used to grow, she used to call them carrots. You've got carrots, go shave them. You've got carrots, go shave them. She would say. And then even as she got older, that he'd walk through the house and go, I've got carrots, go shave them. Just the cute little things that kids do. don't get me wrong, I'm glad that I'm not in that season of little kids anymore. That, you know, I've got a lot more time to do the things that I want to do. I'm probably one of those weirdos that really like the fact that I'm almost an empty nester. Like I do, like it is a little bit sad in one aspect because I don't get to see Savannah every day. But on the other hand, you know, it's a whole new season of my life where I don't really have to be there. Like, I'm still here for Nerali, of course, because she's homeschooling, she's still home, and I'm there 100% for her. You know, like, I stop everything that I'm doing when she wants to talk, and except sometimes I get a bit shirty with her because she comes out and she's purposely interrupting, and then I get quite cranky with her because I know that that's what she's doing. But for the most part, I drop everything for them. And yeah, and I do what I've got to do, and then I'll come back and continue on with my stuff. But I am very pleased to. I've been struggling with their attitude towards me working from home for a very long time. They don't see my work as work. Now, I'm speaking on how they're making me feel, not that they have said that. Okay, so let me just clear that up. They've never actually verbalized that. It's how they make me feel by the things that they do or don't do or expect from me. And I mean, as anybody that's in a relationship or has children or has demanding families or anything like that, I'm pretty sure you can all relate. At some stage in your life, you've felt like you're being taken for granted, that people just aren't hearing you or seeing you, okay? Because as women, as mothers, as partners, as caregivers, as generally, we are the persons that are looking after the population at the end of the day. And yeah, so at some stage, and there are men out there that do the same thing. It's not just one or the other, but it's majority of women. And so basically, you know, you feel like you're a little bit invisible sometimes. And I've been struggling with this for the last couple of years, and my close friends know that I've been struggling with this, that I feel like that no one sees what I like. No one sees me. They just see me as someone that can cook the food and do the stuff and keep the house running and bills paid and all that sort of stuff, and what I do isn't important. Well, thanks to a lot of subscribers that have sent me lovely emails, have sent me letters in the mail, have sent me beautiful gifts, surprising gifts and stuff like that. And I purposely have been reading these letters to my family, and they're finally starting to understand that what I do is important to me and important for them and important for other people. And stuff like that. And the other day, my husband was saying, you know, like, he, for the first time, I don't know how to word this because it's my feelings, and my feelings can get a little bit skew-iff at times. For the first time that I can recall, he actually said to me, because there was a situation where we're going to be getting solar power, and I was talking to the girls last night about this, and we used to be 100% solar power, and like we weren't connected to the grid at all, so we relied wholly and solely on solar power. And anyway, he come in and he goes, I'm thinking about getting a standalone system of solar power. I'm like, oh yeah, and then he told me all about what brought that on and whatnot. I'm like, okay, yep, fair enough. And he goes, you know, like, we can't just, you know, have a generator there for backup or anything like that. We need to have solar power because we've got to keep you working. You can't work without power. And it was for the first time where he has actually acknowledged the fact that my work is important, that it is important that I keep working because it's important for me and all the rest of it. So that was nice. That was a little bit of a realization this week. I'm like, oh wow, he actually does. Because a lot of time I feel like, you know, I'll be doing something and it's like, well, I need this done. I feel like, now it's not what he is saying, it's just how I feel. Because I feel like they don't take my job seriously, and that frustrates me, and I'm sure there's other people out there that have the same situation as well. All right, so I'm finishing this off, but that was really nice that he actually was thinking about me, and my job and what I do and all that sort of stuff. So you can see here I'm just weaving it, and I'll just weave that down, and then I usually go about 5 stitches down, so about that. You can see that it's about 1 inch roughly, and then I'll just snip that as close as I can, and there you go. I don't have any tails or anything like that. As I said, I will have to yeah, get that crochet hook, and I'll weave that through. That won't take long. I could probably weave it through with my needle, but that takes a little bit of extra finesse, or the needle threader, you can probably do it with that as well. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to the video to find out what we are going to be working on next week. Alright, so we are ready to spin the wheel and find out what we're going to be working on next week. I'm actually really enjoying doing this because we've got some new starts in there, we've got some stuff that we've been working on for a while. So let me just spin it up and find out what we're going to be working on. Back to do some EPP, so we're going to be working on Trip to the Stars. Alright, so we are going to be doing some English paper piecing, Trip to the Stars. Now, I feel like most people have seen this already. If you go back and watch last week's video, I worked on it last week, so you'll get to see it. I won't worry about pulling that out or anything like that. So yeah, basically, that's what we're going to be working on. So that's pretty good. I'm doing some more English paper piecing, and I'm loving the wheel. Like, as I said, I really am enjoying the fact that I've got some new starts on there, and that aren't cross stitch. And now come on, you normally come out. Why didn't you come out that time? Did you get caught up, did you? There we go. See, and I don't have to undo the knot, I can just pull it out. And again, I will have a long tail when I start it, and I'll weave that through as well. Well, that was an interesting conversation today. That went not where I thought it was going to go, but anyway, we've of course touched on names and how I'm feeling a little bit more appreciated by my family. And even Neroli, like, since Savannah has left home, not that Savannah was a catalyst for Neroli treating me badly or anything, but since Savannah's left home, the relationship between Neroli and us is returning to somewhat normal. Like, yeah, because Neroli's had some struggles in the last, where did I just finish off just there? In the last year or so. So basically, you know, we've had her leave school and all that sort of stuff. So she is now seeming to be back on track and really happy. She still has her moments where I just like think, I'm gonna go down that path. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, no, she's seeming really happy and really grounded and enjoying schoolwork, and her best friend is now looking at doing homeschooling as well, between here and her place. She's not enjoying school anymore. She's just not enjoying, and I suppose it's hard for her because Neroli's not there, and I mean, they see each other quite a bit and whatnot, but she's just not there, and her heart's not in it. Like, she's just not enjoying it. So, but she still wants to get her Year 12 certificate, so she's and I think maybe it might be good for her because it'll be out of that stressful environment, and you know, she's got somewhere where she can come, and she's got access to whatever she needs and all that sort of stuff. So, and her mum's seriously considering it, so that's good. That's a good thing. I mean, let's face it, high school's not a great place. Alright, so leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of my choice of red. I think I've done a fabulous choice, even if I do say so myself. Alright. It's just so relaxing to do this. Like, it's not a stressful craft to do. Like, no embroidery is stressful. I think sometimes we make it stressful by overthinking it. And I don't like to overthink things. I like to just cruise. I'm pretty happy with this. Although, oh, there it is. Oh, you know what? For the last couple of days, I'll just pull this out. Excuse me. I could not, for the life of me, remember where I put my... I haven't worked on it because I could not remember where my Sashiko, that table runner, my borrowed table runner that I was working on, I could not, for the life of me, remember where it was. Oh, and I just seen it then. Oh, dear me. So all I have left to do on this, I've been looking for it for days, and it was right there in front of me. It was sitting behind. I've got a thing up here of my hexagons. It was sitting behind it. I knew it was in a pouch. Oh, dearie me. So that's all I've got to go. And this is all done by hand. So I even had a video. If you go back, I had a video show you how to add your borders on and whatnot. So yeah, I'm going to try and finish that off now that I've found it. It's ridiculous. Oh, dearie me. I'm glad I sat here now this morning because it's been driving me crazy all week. I've been looking for it because I wanted to work on it. I had some time the other night to work on it, and I thought instead of working on a cross stitch, I would work on that. And yeah, I ended up working on a cross stitch because I couldn't find that. Yeah, because there's a little gap there, and it just said slip down, and I couldn't see it. And I just happened to look over there, and because I moved stuff here this morning, it must have moved that box, and yeah, it's popped up. So there you go. Because I knew what pouch it was in. I'm like, oh my god, I know it's here somewhere. Where is it? Because I'll put this in here, just to, in there as well, to keep it. Oh, what did I do then? I missed them altogether. To keep the project clean and dust free and cat free. I went too far on that one. And as you can see, it's pretty easy to unpick too, and you can see when you make a mistake straight away. So, because you want to keep on those lines, you don't want to be going between the lines. I mean, you could, but you'd have to do the whole project between the lines, and I'd rather cover the lines just in case they don't wash away. But from what I can tell, they do, because I have done another brand of these that was all like geometrical, like this part in here. You sort of also want to avoid unpicking and whatnot, because these threads are cotton and they do get a little bit of fluff on them when you pull them through. So if you've got one of those sticky rollers, after you've unpicked, just roll it over it and get rid of any fluff that may have come off if you've had to unpick. I'm really liking that. I think the red was the right choice to go with. I think it's just going to look absolutely stunning. I am a little bit partial to red and white though. I've got a little bit of an obsession with red and white, so I'm not surprised that I did gravitate towards this. Although the blue would have looked, not the light blue though, I don't think the light blue was right, but the dark blue would look really nice on it as well. And it's more like a royal blue, that one. All right, well, I am going to jump off now. I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go around here and I'll finish it off. I do have a few things on this morning. I've got to go and do some grocery shopping and all the rest of it. But when I come home, I probably will sit down and do a bit of this. I have an audiobook to listen to today, so I might just stick the audiobook in, and I've also got reading sprints over on Dusty Book Sniffers for the Serialized Book Club Count of Monte Cristo today as well. They'll go for a couple of hours. I'll trying not to work on the weekends, but this is sort of one of the last. I've got one more next week that'll be on a Saturday, but after that I'm not doing any more on the weekends. I'll be just doing them during the week, because I'm trying to do everything that I can for the videos and work and everything during the working week, so I can have weekends off. Because Brendan is now also trying to do the same thing, like he's not booking anything for weekends unless it's an absolute emergency, so he can just have some time off and we can go and do some stuff together. And yeah, because most times Neralee's working on the weekend. Like last weekend we just got in the car and went out for dinner and went and seen Savannah, and it was good. It was like the good old days. Yeah, like there was many a time where he'd ring me up and he goes, oh, we'll go here. And I'm like, yeah, right. One day we were going to get breakfast, and we ended up in Byron Bay for breakfast. And we ended up staying the night. And yeah, it was good. Just fun. We don't often do things, but we do like to do spontaneous things. And that's like last weekend. So if you have made it this far and to the end of the video, make sure you leave me, let's go with the sewing spool today in the emojis. Leave that down below. And if you have made it this far, thank you so much. Make sure that you do hit the subscribe button as well. That way you won't miss out on any crafty uploads. Now, we will be back next week and we'll be working on some EPP, so I will be just, I don't know whether I'll be sewing anything together, but I will definitely be wrapping some fabric around the papers, so we'll be doing a bit of that, a bit of chit-chatting, it'll be, and then get some more progress done on that. It's good that it's spun up again. I'm happy with that. And I think it's good too, because then I'm doing something different every week, and then you can just pull out whatever you've got for slow stitching out, and anything that you want to do by hand. You don't have to necessarily do what I'm doing. It's just a great way to spend a morning together and get some stuff done. So next time you see this will have more done on it. I don't think it'll be finished, but it'll be further along anyway. So I just take it nice and easy when I come to navigate things, because I want it to look like it's, well, not getting caught around the corner there. I want it to look like it's uniformed, and I mean, if it's not, I'm not totally devastated, because we are turning corners after all. Sometimes that can be a little tricky. Oh, the other day I was taking Narralee down to get her tax file number, because she couldn't find it, so she had to get it reissued. And anyway, I took her down to get it. On the way down, I just happened to, we've got a drain that runs, like it's concrete drain that runs through the centre of town. Originally it was a creek, but they've concreted it, and runs behind the back of houses and crosses over roads and stuff in our town. And anyway, I'm driving down, and I just happened to glance up it, like I thought I seen something out of the corner of my eye, and I glanced up, and here's these two little cattle dog puppies. They're probably about 3 months old, 10 weeks old maybe, and they were stumpy tails. And anybody that knows the cattle dogs know that stumpy tails are pretty expensive. Like, they're not cheap. And I'm like, and one had a collar on and one didn't, so I knew someone owned them. Anyway, and it was near school time, so there was going to be an abundance of cars, there was going to be abundance of kids coming out, because it was right near the school. And I thought, you know what, I'm stopping. So I stopped, and so I stopped and basically got out of the car. Now, they were in the water, and we have red dirt here. So they were all muddy and all the rest of it. They came to us straight away, and right where they were, there's a little dog park there. So I said to Nerralee, I said, well, I can't see anybody. there was no one in the park. There was no one around. There was no sign of anybody had been in the dog park or anything like that. And I'm like, well, we'll just have to call the RSPCA, because we couldn't bring him home because we don't have a closing fence. So we couldn't exactly bring them home. And so anyway, no, the cats wouldn't have been real happy with me either. And so anyway, I said, we'll take him in the dog park. So we took him in the dog park, and then she was dialing the RSPCA, and then I hear this woman's voice sort of, oi, and I'm like, I couldn't see her at first because the trees were blocking the way, and then this woman running down the road, they're mine, because she could see we were on the phone. And so anyway, she's come down, she's like, oh, thank you so much. She goes, the kids left the gate open and they've got out, and I'm like, yeah, cool, no worries. I said, I just thought I'd put them in here, because it's almost, school time. There's going to be heaps of cars and all that sort of stuff. And she said, oh, thank you so much. I said, I just didn't want, like, so cute and adorable. I just didn't want them to get run over by a car or anything like that, because, being puppies, they've got no road sense whatsoever. So they would have bolted out, seen the kids, got excited and bolted out onto the road and, splat frog puppy. And because there's so many cars down there at that time of day, you wouldn't see that. They'd just shoot out and you would have cleaned them up. So she was really happy with that. And so they ended up going back home again. but they were so cute. And they're always like, oh, well, no. I'm like, no. You're not home enough. Well, she is, but I don't want a dog. I don't want to have to, when I go away, or if I want to go away for a weekend, have to worry about getting dog sitter, making sure the girls are here, someone here, anybody here to watch the dogs, and then run the risk that something happens, they get out, and that, like, cats, my neighbours are happy, the cats are self-managed sort of thing. My neighbours are happy to come over and put some food out for them, and all that sort of stuff. I don't necessarily have to be worried that my dog's going to get out and go for a bit of a wander around the yard, get around the neighbourhood, get picked up by the pound. Then I'm going to have to come home, find out that it's going to cost me, $500 to get my dog out because it's been there for a week, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I just don't want the drama. And then so no, can't have dog. She's going to be peeved when we're older and we possibly get a dog. But no, I don't have the time. I'm busy. I don't want to be worrying about it. And as I said, my yard's not secure. So it's a no. Because my husband, in all his infinite wisdom, when he was reversing his truck, he wrecked the front gate, like he hit it and it bent the hinges. Like, really, the gate should have been replaced and all the rest of it, but we haven't done it. He bent the hinges and it doesn't close, so. And there's been a couple of times he's taken palings off it and all the rest of it, and I'm like, yeah, should I get another fence gate? No, because you'll probably do that same thing again, so I just didn't bother. It was just easier not to. All right, I am starting on the second circle. That is going to look absolutely fabulous. So imagine it in a frame behind some perspex in a black frame. That's just going to set it off, don't you reckon? All right, I am going to get on with the rest of my day. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope you've had a lovely session of slow stitching, and make sure that you maybe do some more, as I am this afternoon when I listen to my audiobook. I'm going to get a few more stitches into this. I actually feel like doing this other than cross stitch today, so this might be my stitching. All right, but that is it from me today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up as well. Maybe share it with some of your friends that might be interested in doing some slow stitching every Saturday with us. The more the merrier, I say. And have a lovely day, and keep getting those stitches in, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.